What's up, guys? Welcome to Annex Training. Today's seminar, we're going to go over the many topics of fasting. All these miscellaneous facts and research articles that support fasting, and also give us a better detailed look at the benefits, what will happen to our body with different periods of fasting. We'll start with the benefits, just the basics behind it. So talking about fasting, fasting is any time you're not eating. So typically, any human is going to be either fed or fasted. If you just ate, your body's fed. It takes a while for us to digest that food, somewhere around 4 hours, depending on the size of the meal. But once we hit that time, if we continue to not eat thereafter, it counts as a fasting window because we have not eaten and our body is now in fasting mode. The basics. Once we fast, so when we aren't allowed to eat for a specific period of time, it puts us in a caloric deficit. So let's say we're supposed to eat 2,000 calories to support the way that our body is burning calories on that day. If we don't eat, that puts us in a 2,000 caloric deficit for the week. Now we have to think of this in regards to a week, because if we're thinking it in a daily, if we don't eat that day, you're like, oh, I get 2,000 extra calories tomorrow. That's not right. So we have to ensure that we're taking the hours worth of fasting in regards to the hour of time that's in a full week. It also allows us a little bit more freedom. So on our feed days, we do have some extra calories that are allotted throughout the remainder of the week. So we can ensure that we have a little bit of extra freedom. I feel today's society is constantly dieting. We constantly are putting ourselves in a caloric deficit every single day. We are supposed to eat 2,000 calories, but instead we eat 1,800, and we just hope that we're going to sustain that for the rest of our lives and still see significant benefits. Our bodies don't work that way. Science doesn't work that way. You're going to get sick of it. You're going to get frustrated with it, and you're going to eventually go back to eating the amount that your body needs to survive, not even thrive on, just to survive. When we're constantly eating and we're constantly in a fed state, we never give our systems a break. Our hormones are constantly in flux, and we never realize what our body feels like when we are fully fasted, when we are just running on our system the way that it's supposed to run. It helps us separate food from our daily habits. So eating should not be a time frame. It should not be at different points of time. You eat different meals, you eat different things, because we get into this habitual feeling of every day just being led by the food choices that you make, not being led by decisions. We develop hormonal, metabolic, mental, and even physical benefits from fasting. I'm going to go really in depth about this later, just to make sure that those who understand the breakdowns of cortisol, testosterone, how our body deals with leptin, all of these a little bit more scientific type of buildups. I wanted to spend a different seminar talking about all of these things all together, so we didn't muddle this down with an overabundant amount of information. Burning and storing. So this is kind of the yin and the yang of our body. So when we eat something, we're fed. We are eating, we are storing the calories, and we store them either as fat or glycogen. Glycogen is the way that our body burns calories. So we're storing these things to allow us to utilize them later. Let's take this really back to primal days. So we are walking along and we find a water buffalo. I don't know why that's the first thing I think of. We find a water buffalo. I hunt down that water buffalo, and now I have food. So I'm going to eat this food, and as I'm eating it, my body's taking in those calories. It's storing some of them as fat. It's going to save some of them to utilize for carbohydrate burn. Now, if I eat above what I'm supposed to be eating for the day, above what my body's actually burning, we are provided with a surplus. All of the food from that surplus is stored only as fat. That's it. We don't store any of that as glycogen. We don't store any of that as energy. When we are fasting, so the yang side of things, we're not eating, and the only thing that our body is doing during not eating is burning calories. It keeps us in balance. Okay? If we work out and we exercise, now our muscles are burning glycogen, but it's the same thing. It's burning. When we're eating, we are storing. When we are fasting, we are burning. That's it. That's the only thing that happens with our body. Hunger. This is the number one topic that comes up when I have mentioned fasting in the past. But I'm gonna be hungry. Oh, there's no way I can do that. I get hangry. I get so hungry. No one wants to deal with me at that point of time. So because that question or that fear comes up in people, I wanted to discuss it. Most people get hungry about every 3 to 4 hours, but technically speaking, you still have food in your body. You still have calories that will help your body thrive. It will help you live. You don't need that food. So that hunger is typically a learned reaction. It's as we go along in our day, we know that breakfast time is coming around, so we eat breakfast. And then we wait a little bit of time, and now we have a snack. And now we wait a little bit of time, and then there's lunch. Then we wait some time, and we have a snack again. Then we have some dinner, and then we have some dessert. Our daily life is driven by food-related decisions. We make over 200 food decisions every single day. Grocery shopping, meal prepping, cooking, feeding kids, feeding yourself, getting food at the store, at the convenience store. All of these decisions are being made every single day. Now, these decisions are led from metabolic cueing, social cueing, habitual cueing, and even the environmental cues that we are around every single day. So if we think about those social, habitual, environmental, all of these three things are mental. It's all in the state of mentality. We are putting ourselves into the mental state of needing something. I need to eat. I need to have breakfast. It puts us in these patterns because socially we're around everyone else who's having lunch. So I too have to have lunch. Or I have lunch every single day, so I too have to have lunch. Those environmental cues, the food-related decisions that we make at those times, are led all from us learning about these cues as we go on in life. It also could be addiction or pleasure driven. So having this food addiction, being like pulled into the pleasure sensations that you feel rewarded after having a nice greasy hamburger, everything feels so good and it tasted delicious, and you almost feel like, well, I worked out hard today, so I'm going to reward myself with this food. We do this every single day, and this is a serious thing. It's not something that people make up. It's actually implanted in the brain. We have this thing that's called food anticipatory activity. Our movement increases, our body temperature increases, corticosterone secretions increase, gastrointestinal motility increases, so the movement of your stomach, grumbling, growling, all of those things. Insulin secretion, digestive enzymes, all of these things are actually led by learned traits. They're things that we could potentially backpedal ourselves away from so we don't have to make these decisions every single day, and we don't actually fuel these food anticipatory activities. Health benefits, and these are all factual benefits. Fact number one, we are meant to store fat. Our bodies are meant to be lazy. Evolution has favored survival of the individual who is genetically equipped with a good appetite and the ability to store fat. Because if they're not going to eat and they're not going to store, they do not know when they're going to be fed next. We take that evolutionary mindset and we think about it now into the world where we are faced with 200 different food-related decisions every day. It's a very drastic different person. So if we're meant to be fat, or meant to store fat, now when we have the opportunity and the option to eat food so often, so much throughout the day, and it's an abundant amount of food, the US supplies enough food for every person to eat 4,000 calories a day. That's double the amount that most people need. It's not that we're ever going to be without food by choice, or not by choice. It's going to be by choice. So that's fact number one. Fact number two, body fat will always beat blood glucose, so the sugar in our blood, in a competition for energy. When we're trying to fuel our body, when we're trying to get energy from something, your body always wants to get that from body fat. Fact number three, we burn body fat while fasting. We burn calories while eating. Read that again. We burn body fat while fasting. We burn calories while eating. I talked about this before. When we eat, we are either storing fat or storing glycogen. That glycogen is utilized for energy. When we stop eating, the only thing that we are doing, so when we're fasting, we are no longer getting that glycogen in our body. We are burning fat. That's it. It oxidizes in our blood and we burn the fat. Myths. I am one to talk about this because I preached on this many, many times, many different things. Fasting will kill your metabolism. If you don't eat consistently throughout the day, your metabolism will slow down and you could severely hinder your metabolism's ability to burn calories. False. That is not true. I probably read 17 articles about metabolism and how it relates to feeding and fasting. Almost all calories we burn daily are from our basal metabolic rate. So just by being ourselves, by being a body, that's how we burn most of the calories. Beyond that, the only way to increase this amount of calories we burn is to exercise. Even our body heating up, so TDEF, so thermodynamic effect of food, when we eat food, our body heats up a little bit. Not having that or looking at that, it really only burns a few extra calories every day. I've even said, like, eat more protein. It will help you burn more calories because it takes your body a longer period of time to digest it. But in all reality, it only burns 5 calories per 10 grams of protein, which is not much of anything. If you think about our bodies burning 2,000 calories just to keep it alive, 5 calories per 10 grams, it's maybe an extra 100 calories burned, not even that if you're eating an adequate amount. All of the studies that I read found no significant changes in metabolic rate even after a 72-hour fast. Now, I'm only asking you guys to fast a maximum of 24 hours as we work our way up into this. It is not enough time to make any impact on your metabolism. There was multiple studies done on people fasting. There were studies done on people eating a very low amount of food, 800 calories daily. Even with 800 calories, even after 72 hours, there was no significant change in metabolism. If something so insignificant could have a drastic effect on your metabolism as not eating every 2-3 hours, I think our bodies would be much more likely to break down much faster. The only truth in regards to nutrition is this, and this goes with any sort of nutrition plan challenge that you follow. Prolonged caloric restriction is the only proven nutritional method of weight loss. So I read that again, prolonged caloric restriction, so for a long amount of time, whatever that prolonged period may be, is the only proven way to lose weight. You have to restrict some calories in order to lose weight, in order to burn fat. What about my gains? If I'm not eating, how am I supposed to keep on my muscle mass? There's no way that proteins can synthesize. There's no way my growth hormones will work. My testosterone will decrease if I'm not consistently eating. I gotta eat more to put on more mass. That's what I've been told. I've told people that in the past as well. Looking at the research, so we look at actually evidence-based research to understand muscle mass is not impacted by small amounts of fasting, by small amounts of period of time where you are not eating. Muscle cells only have the ability to store glycogen, so that blood sugar, within itself. So if I have glycogen in my thigh, I can't share that blood sugar with any other part of my body unless I utilize the energy that's built up in my thigh. Your liver's a little different. So your liver also stores glycogen, but it shares that and fuels the brain, fuels organs, fuels other muscles as needed. Now, during fasting, your body relies on the sugar that's in your liver and fat for use of energy. It does not steal any sugar, any blood sugar, any glycogen, any energy from your supporting and surrounding muscles. It only utilizes the sugar from the liver, which is what part of the liver's job is. Muscle sugar is only used during high intensity training. So we can look at the research because I need to look at what you guys do in a CrossFit class, what is done in a strength training environment, Olympic weightlifting, endurance, all of these different sports to understand when is the best time to fast and if it would be helpful. So research proved that after a 3.5 day fast, so no eating for 3.5 days, had no effect on performance measures of muscles. So what they looked at was the contractile speed, so how fast something was reactive, how fast it could contract, its ability, so its strength, its stamina, how long that strength lasted, and then also just the general strength output. None of that was affected after a 3.5 day fast. It also looked at short-term high intensity to moderately long duration spans of time for exercising. So short-term high intensity would be a CrossFit style Metcon, so something where the heart rate is up and you have to move quickly. Moderate long duration spans would be a 5K, something that's minimal in distance, that's not super long. The long aerobic exercises, so you look at your marathons, your Ironmans, that is not recommended to do at the end of a fast, just simply because you would really deplete your system. So it's not recommended to do at the end of the fast. You're not going to finish your 24 hours of a fast and then run a marathon, but you could take time in between and then run your marathon. There would be no negative impact. It also improves your fat burning amount. So if we think about that, you're like, oh, it's going to kill my gains. But if really there was no actual proof that it's going to cut down your muscle mass and it's going to break down your muscle mass, but it will improve your body's ability to burn fat, it seems like this is a solid way to gain and keep and maintain muscle mass while burning fat, which is going to give you that leaner, stronger look. But what about my gains? Part 2, because I know it's going to come up more. The more lean mass you have on your body, the better we become at regulating body temperature. So what this research article did, it had people put an insulated tube around their stomach, and they actually stored more fat than if they didn't have that heat around their stomach, that insulation from their stomach. So your body is actually able to burn more calories because it's able to heat itself up easier. It heats it up, it cools itself down. Heavier people, or those that have a lot of adipose tissue, a lot of body fat on their body, have a hard time regulating that body temperature, and we don't get as much mobility from from just eating. But it is only about 5 calories per body pound. As long as you're training, you will not lose mass. In 1999, there was a study done. It was a 12-week study. Like I said, they were allowed to eat 800 calories, but keep this one in mind. They were only eating 80 grams of protein. This was half women, half men were in this study, and it still resulted in maintenance of muscles. They were strength training 5 times a week and ensuring that their muscles were being challenged in some sort of way, and they were only eating 800 calories with 80 grams of protein, and they still maintained their muscle mass. It did not start breaking down their muscle fibers, and it did not leave them looking soft and deflated. What fasting has been proven to do is it actually will clean up the strategies that your muscles utilize to build more mass. So all of these things, like I said, protein synthesis, utilizing human growth hormone, testosterone, fasting will cause a massive shift and allow these things to happen better in your body. Okay, but really, what about my gains? Last one, I promise. Muscle is built by a cascade of different events. There has to be multiple things that happen in order for muscle to gain. There's an inflammatory response. There's an activation of satellite cells. The satellite cell incorporates into the damaged tissue and cells that were disrupted during the strength training time frame, the strength training workout. There's movement of amino acids into that muscle, and from the satellite cells incorporation and the amino acid, it actually will heal that tissue, make it stronger, make it more resilient, so you have growth. Now, there's a lot of other things that are incorporated with this. Research is constantly coming out with new and updated evidence of new things that happen during muscle growth, but this is just a general idea of what's going on inside of our body. Fasting will help influence hormonal and molecule signals that we get from testosterone, from growth hormone, myostatin, mTOR, and insulin, which are all super beneficial in order to keep your body keeping mass, putting on lean muscle, and also burning fat. All we need is an adequate amount of calories, ensuring that we're hitting our BMR, and an adequate amount of protein to ensure that we are building and getting stronger. I do want to say that it has been proven that slight pulses of protein intake is much better than a continual supply. So if you think we have to eat protein every 2 hours in order to get strong and mighty, it's not actually true. Taking some days off of eating protein, coming back and eating more, our body responds better to the amino acids that we get from that protein. Fasting can prime the metabolism to be more sensitive to these anabolic effects as well. So when we eat protein, the anabolic effects that we get actually will help muscle grow faster and stronger. Low blood sugar. I brought this up in our initial seminar where we think like, oh, if I don't get to eat every 3 to 4 hours, I get shaky or moody. Only 5 to 10% population actually suffers from some type of hypoglycemia. What hypoglycemia is, it's low blood sugar. So your blood sugar drops beyond standard amount, and we suffer these negative impacts. If you don't have any medical history or diagnosis, you probably don't have it by this point of time in your life. You would most likely understand that you have it. And if you do have it, I don't suggest that you fast without getting your doctor's approval first. The amount of sugar that we have in our 5 liters worth of blood, so we have 5 liters of blood in our body, is actually only 5 to 7 grams. So that's about 1 to 1.5 teaspoons worth of sugar. So say this amount. If I put this amount in a 5-liter jug, there's no way that you could even taste that there was sugar that you just put in a jug of water. Not blood, a jug of water. Some symptoms have been speculated that people are having these irritability and moodiness when they fast. Some of these symptoms have been related to the anxiety or the stress of not eating that is actually causing those symptoms to take place, not your actual blood sugar levels. Health benefits. I'll let you read that list on your own. It's a substantial amount of benefits that we can reap from fasting, and it's in all different areas of our body: hormones, metabolic, mental, physical, all of these things, even systemic. The inflammation that our body holds pretty chronically has been proven to decrease significantly with the use of fasting. And looking at all of those, this is what really won me over. I was like, it seems like it's a cure-all thing. And I know just from being in a field that has a lot of research for and against things, there's really not one thing that's a cure-all. But if all of these systems improve with fasting, and it's been proven to improve, all of these have support from research, why not give it a go? So I'm extremely happy with how it's been going. I feel great. I haven't taken any blood levels, but I feel like I should, because I know my body is thriving on this thing. If you are interested in jumping over to the fasting side, you're more than welcome to get in contact with me, and we can get you started the right way. Good luck with everything, and I'll talk soon.